July 20th, 1969. For the first time in history, the entire world was watching the same moment. Living rooms were silent. Cities paused. Families gathered around black and white television screens. Because somewhere, nearly 240,000 miles away from Earth, three men were about to attempt the impossible. If something went wrong, they would die in space. If they failed, humanity's greatest dream would collapse. But if they succeeded, the world would never be the same again. This is the story of the day humanity touched the moon. The war that wasn't fought with guns. The moon landing wasn't just about science. It was about power. In the 1960s, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in the Cold War, a battle of ideology, dominance, and technological superiority. There were no direct battles between them. Instead, they competed in intelligence, weapons, and space. In 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching Sputnik, the first satellite. Then in 1961, they sent Yuri Gagarin into space. He became the first human to orbit Earth. America was humiliated. They were losing the space race. And then President John F. Kennedy made a bold promise to the American people. He said the United States would land a man on the moon before the decade ended and bring him safely back to Earth. It sounded impossible. The technology didn't even exist yet. But sometimes, the greatest achievements begin as impossible promises. The cost of reaching the moon. NASA began the Apollo program. It became one of the largest scientific projects in human history. More than 400,000 engineers, scientists, and technicians worked on it. Factories ran day and night. Billions of dollars were invested. But progress came with tragedy. In 1967, during a ground test for Apollo 1, a fire broke out inside the spacecraft cabin. 3 astronauts were trapped inside. They had no chance to escape. The nation was devastated. Many wondered if reaching the moon was worth human lives. NASA faced intense criticism, but instead of quitting, they rebuilt. They redesigned the spacecraft, improved safety systems, fixed every weakness they could find. They turned failure into fuel. And finally, in 1969, they were ready. Apollo 11, the 3 men who risked everything. Apollo 11 carried 3 astronauts: Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins. Neil Armstrong was chosen to command the mission. He wasn't dramatic. He wasn't loud. He was calm under pressure. A former test pilot, Armstrong had already survived dangerous missions. He understood the risks. There was no guarantee they would return. If the lunar module failed to lift off from the moon, Armstrong and Aldrin would be stranded forever. President Nixon even had a speech prepared in case they died. That was how real the danger was. Launch day, July 16th, 1969, Cape Kennedy, Florida. The Saturn V rocket stood 363 feet tall. It was the most powerful machine ever built by humans. When the countdown reached 0, the engines ignited with explosive force. The ground trembled. Flames and smoke filled the sky. Slowly, the rocket began to rise. It carried 3 men and the hopes of millions. They traveled at 25,000 miles per hour. For 4 days, they moved closer and closer to the moon. Then finally, it appeared in full view, silent, gray, waiting, the most dangerous landing in history. On July 20th, the lunar module named Eagle separated from the main spacecraft. Armstrong and Aldrin began descending toward the surface. Everything was going according to plan. Then suddenly alarms started flashing. Error code 1202, then 1201. The onboard computer was overloaded. Mission control had seconds to decide: abort or continue. After rapid calculations, engineers confirmed the computer could still function. They gave the signal, continue, but the danger wasn't over. As they approached the surface, Armstrong realized something terrifying. The automatic landing system was guiding them toward a field of massive rocks. If they landed there, the module would tip over and they would die instantly. Armstrong made a split-second decision. He took manual control. Fuel levels were dropping fast. 30 seconds remaining. His heartbeat climbed to 150 beats per minute. Dust began to rise as the engine fired. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. Warning lights flashing. Then, contact light. Engine, stop, silence. And then the words heard around the world. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Cheers erupted inside Mission Control. Some engineers cried. Humanity had just landed on another world. One small step. Hours later, Armstrong prepared to exit the spacecraft. He carefully climbed down the ladder. A small black and white camera captured everything. An estimated 600 million people watched live, the largest television audience in history at that time. Armstrong placed his left foot on the lunar surface and said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." With those words, Earth was no longer humanity's only home. Buzz Aldrin joined him shortly after. He described the moon as magnificent desolation. The surface was silent, no wind, no sound, no life, just two humans standing where no one had ever stood before. What they did on the moon, during their time outside the spacecraft, they conducted experiments. They planted the American flag. They collected 21 kilograms of moon rocks. They placed a plaque that read, "We came in peace for all mankind." Above them, Michael Collins orbited alone in the command module. If the Eagle failed to lift off, Collins would have to return to Earth alone. Imagine that responsibility. Fortunately, the ascent engine fired perfectly. They reunited in orbit and began their journey home. The return to Earth. On July 24th, 1969, Apollo 11 splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean. The astronauts were placed in quarantine just in case they brought back unknown lunar bacteria. They hadn't just completed a mission, they had changed history. The United States had technically won the space race, but in reality, humanity had won something far greater. Proof that impossible dreams can become reality. Was it all fake? Over the decades, conspiracy theories claimed the moon landing was staged. But the evidence tells another story. Moon rocks brought back from Apollo missions are still studied worldwide. Laser reflectors left on the moon still bounce signals back to Earth today. Independent countries tracked the mission in real time. To fake it would have required thousands of people to keep the same secret for over 50 years. The moon landing was real, and its impact was undeniable. The meaning of that moment, the moon landing wasn't just about planting a flag. It was about courage. It was about human intelligence. It was about what we can achieve when we dare to dream big. In less than 70 years, humanity went from the first airplane flight to walking on the moon. Think about that. From wood and fabric wings to standing on another world. That is the power of belief, science, and unity. And maybe one day soon, the next giant leap will be Mars. Because history has already proven one thing. When humanity decides to move forward, nothing can stop it.